Welcome to Shorty Supercoach. Shorty's back from Y River. The games are done. That's all we're going to see in terms of sample sizes and practice games before we got to pick our side. So I thought I'd run through a few names. There's a bloody lot of names here, but I'm going to do the first, 7 games, and then the Dogs in Melbourne, they're starting pretty soon, so I'm keen to watch those, and then the Suns and Brisbane. But I just thought, I just got back, it's raining, I thought, I'll knock out the most part of this and get stuck into it. But no, nice little refreshing weekend, and there is a little bit of irony in me doing a review style on these practice games when most of the time I was just sipping pina coladas on the deck looking out at the ocean. But nonetheless, I did see a few of these games, read up on them, stats. Some games I saw more than others, and there'll be players out there that you had a better insight on than I did. But still, we're going to check off on a few bits and pieces. So it didn't take too long to get a big headline, and that was in the Carlton St Kilda game with Zach Williams under some scrutiny for the bump. I'm not too sure which way that's going to go. I'm not even sure when we're going to find out, but I feel like it's a chance that he's probably going to miss. And for what it's worth, if he does get 1 week, I'm still going to pick him. If it gets 2, then we start to have an issue. So we'll see. I'll probably do another video on that if he does actually go, but we'll deal with that in another session. But otherwise, he was outstanding. You couldn't have wanted to see more. He hit the scoreboard, looked amazing around the clearance. I mean, he's a lock, in my opinion. What more do you sort of need to say? Sam Walsh, he looked the goods, really continued to show exactly what he's about and why he's going to be a star of the game. Just racked it up. And Paddy Dow, had the 17 touches. Wasn't amazing, showed glimpses. And it was a bit tricky too because Harry Mackay went off and they had a few injuries. So I'm sure there would have been some players, slightly drifting forward a touch more just to help out an unexpected rotation. And I think Paddy Cripps is a guy like that too. And, he didn't set the world on fire, and he had like 3 kicks and I think 12 odd handballs. But no need to panic, in my opinion. It's just a practice game. Paddy doesn't really care. I think he was thinking about heading to Lawn already, which I found out, funnily enough. I just finished my Italian dish and we're about to head off to Y River, and my sister was over at the Food Works, if you've ever been to Lawn, and she comes back, she's like, I think I saw Paddy Cripps there. And I was like, see ya, I'm out of here. There's not too many footballers I would act like that about, but a couple of Geelong guys and Cripps and Fife, a few others, I'm hunting him down, and I waltzed over. I'm thinking, shit, I don't have my mask, so I can't even go in there and try and stalk him. So I thought, where is he? Nah, couldn't see him. I'll just wait around the car park for a couple of minutes just in case. And I waited for like 30 seconds. Now comes Paddy Cripps with a bag of pedigree, a couple of bits and pieces. I'm like, hi, Paddy. Just the most awkward hello you've ever seen in your life. And I said, mate, do you mind if I just get a photo? I hate hassling them in a way, but come on, it's Paddy Cripps. I thought, geez, what an amazing bit of timing. So credit to my sister. I got the photo, which I'll chuck in, well, probably now. So yeah, he was great. Didn't need to do that, and yeah, it was clear he probably didn't really want to either. The bloke's, the sun's shining. He just wants to piss off and go chill out, and you've got Shorty buzzing around wanting a photo. But so I really appreciate it. It was a cool thing. I was pretty pumped. had a bit of fanboy about me for a couple of hours, but yeah, that was cool. But don't lose your faith on Cripps. He'll be a star this year. I still think he's a lock. And in terms of St Kilda, Jack Steele just keeps doing what he's doing. He's going to be a consistent player. Hunter Clark was really one to note. I've been talking about for a long time that this guy is a midfielder. Can he get that opportunity? Geez, I think it was like 70% of the game he played, so not full minutes. And he had like 23 touches, stack of clearances and contested balls. So that is something to think about. Paul Hunter, didn't get a gauge of how much he did, but he was solid enough. I mean, it looks like he'll play round 1. Probably the big question is, when is Rowan Marshall actually going to come back? Tom Highmore, don't know. He probably wasn't as impressive as he was in that other pracky game, but seems to be a part of that back 6. We'll wait and see for the teams. And look, I wouldn't be surprised if Jade Gresham as well is a guy that really, boosts himself this year. Not like we're going to be picking him, but I just want to throw him in there. I reckon he could really stand out and play some really good footy. Might be a sneaky one for your draft team. And Adam Sard as well. Sorry, I don't think I mentioned him. With the standing on the mark rule, he was a guy that they clearly wanted to give the ball to even more to. So I reckon he'll gain a little bit of interest, but he's not my cup of tea. I just don't know. Yeah, he's not one I would be banking on. There's so much to like in the back line, which I keep on saying. So taking a slight risk on a guy like him is just not for me. But I reckon a few people would be excited about him. Richmond and Collingwood, there wasn't too much to talk about for the Tigers except for Jaden Short. He was enormous, 43 touches, but it's a no from me. Don't get sucked in as one game. Basher Hooley didn't play. When they're both playing, I feel as if, they almost dilute their touches a little bit. One day it'll be Shorter gets 30, then Hooley gets 30. I don't think we're going to see those numbers all the time, but clearly he played an amazing game. He's going to be a great selection, but I don't know. I don't know. I mean, he's going to have great numbers. I just think, like I've said, I reckon there's so many good backmen to pick from. You've got Ryan, you've got Williams, you've got Laird, you've got Lloyd. I love Mills. You've got Caleb Daniel. Did I say Luke Ryan? There's a lot of stability, more reliable Tom Stewart options in there. So, he's not my cup of tea, but he might be some. Shea Bolton had high centre bounce attendances. It didn't exactly translate to an amazing game, but I reckon sometimes with these games, it's not always about exactly the numbers, but just what role they're playing. You get one game, so you're not always going to tear it apart. But if you have an 18 centre bounce attendances or whatever, that's a pretty good sign of what they want you to do, or at least what they want to see from you when you're in there. So I think he's a solid chance to get his average over 90. But the question with him, a bit like Zach Butters, which I'll touch on later, is he going to be early 90s or late 90s? Those 5 or 6 points difference, it could be the difference basically. So Riley Collier-Dawkins only had like 40% game time, so probably not looking like a round one berth, but we'll wait and see on the teams. There was a lot going on at Collingwood. Jordan De Goey. Now, I mentioned this weeks back. People were saying, Shorty can't pick De Goey, but I said he's a prime candidate for this midfield role. And hello, there he is, in the guts. It's, come on, I told you about this. In terms of the risk, I've gone with Jordan De Goey. A very interesting player. Of course, this has risk written all over it, but there'll be a time where this bloke just tears the season absolutely to shreds. And I just mentioned Treloar. I think it ties in a little bit with that too. There's probably other guys, which I'll mention in a second, that are probably better candidates to fill the role and fill the void left by Treloar. But, De Goey's a guy that clearly would be looking for a bit more mid-time, I think. We've seen him run through the midfield and look pretty good. He's got that explosive ability, which reminds us a lot of a Martin or a Petrarca, and he tends to get into that mould of thinking too. I think De Goey, all the talk is he's having a great pre-season. Who isn't at the moment? Every article you read, and De Goey's just that general catchphrase sort of guy where everyone's looking for what he's doing and just expecting him to explode at some stage. But I think he will at some point. Just a casual pumping up of my own tyres. But come on, 27 touches, 5 clearances. I'm not sure I'm going to go with him, but he's like 425, something like that. I'm still going with Cameron Rayner as long as I see decent enough signs tonight. I still think there's a lot going on in that Collingwood midfield. And a bit like with Short and Hooley, a bit like with the Dogs midfield. I think sometimes it'll be De Goey, and then there'll be other games where they feel like, we've got the matchup in attack that he can do some damage. So, Jordan, you're 80% forward today, and then there'll be other days where it's like, we need you in the midfield like 70%. So, I don't know, it just concerns me. He's a superstar, but I don't know if he's going to be a pure mid unless we hear something from the coaching staff. Jesus, as I just about die there. But hopefully my voice holds up for another 15 minutes, and hopefully you hold up too. I'll timestamp this. I'll have some timestamps in the description and comments. Not for players, but just for the games. Hopefully that helps. But yeah, so DeGoey, really interesting. Classic sort of jump on board sort of player. But look, it is one game. We saw fantastic signs from him. I still think we could see him play forward a lot, but his numbers will improve. It's just a matter of will you go with him. And the fact that I've said it all year, trust the backman, take the risk in the forward line. So I can't blame you if you're taking the risk. I guess I'm just taking a risk on Rayner at the moment. But if he doesn't really fire tonight, then yeah, it won't take me long to get DeGoey in the side. Isaac Quainer, keep him in mind for your draft. I reckon he's in for a great year. Lang has told me this. Braden Sire, I'm going with. I was talking to him on the trip. I said, Langers, am I saying this wrong? He goes, mate, you say it wrong every time. So hopefully I've said it the right way, mate. 22 touches, 9 contested. Again, he's a guy who's putting his hand up for that role in the midfield. And then we had Steele Sidebottom going down with the calf. And look, I said previously I didn't really like the selection. And hey, it made it lots clearer, didn't it? So he'll be out of basically everyone's side. And a few rookies, put a line through Bianco. Doesn't look like he'll play early. Oliver Henry, again, I probably need to see this game. Played a bit of it. Don't know if he lit the world on fire. But, the Pies seem to like him. And Will Kelly, just a shocking run of luck in terms of injuries. Just can't get going. And that's really going to hurt a few people. North Melbourne and Hawthorn. Gee, there was a lot to talk about in this game. We'll start with North. Jaden Stevenson, 27 touches. I think he's a massive trap. I don't want people to get sucked into this. I don't think we're going to see this, bloody roll in the midfield. I don't think he's ready to produce the numbers that we'd need from that sort of price. So I want to keep that one clear. I think he's a trap. Luke McDonald and Jack Zeeble, they just teamed up real nicely. 24, 23 touches. So Zeeble, he looks the goods. And, I think I need to drop either Danaher or Zeeble to fit these guys, like draft these, and like a fellow like Braden Campbell in my side. So it's going to be really interesting to see what Danaher does tonight. And by the time you're watching this, we will have found out. But look, Zeeble seemed to have put his hand up to say, yeah, I'm a good thing. And full transparency, I didn't see this game either, So I'm purely going off the numbers and a few bits and pieces that I read. Dom Tyson was one of the best. 23 touches. Can people be tempted? I probably wouldn't, but gee, he played all right. Luke Davies-Uniacke was one of the best as well. Tom Powell didn't seem to do a stack, 16 touches. I mean, let me know. Were they a good 16? Was that a 16 to get you into round one, or was it not enough? Will Phillips and Phoenix Spicer didn't play much of the game, so I'm not sure how firm their chances are for round one. Time on ground is a really good indicator as to what sides sort of see as their best outfit. And Lockie Young, I've seen a few people like him at around 200k, but he probably didn't give you the encouragement you would have been after. And over at Hawthorn, Tom Phillips, again, he looks like a guy that's just saying, hello, you got to think about me. 30 touches and 7 tackles. I didn't think he had that in him, but that was pretty impressive. Again, I'm not going to go near him. He's like, you've got Rainey, you've got DeGoey, and you've got Phillips, all in that range. You got Connor Rosie, well, not anymore, but gee, he was putting his hand up too. But I stand by what I said. I don't think Phillips is going to reach the heights that we need him. He was fantastic on the weekend, but he's never really done it for a season. Highest average of 90, and that was in a good team. He's more of an outside player. He's not for me, but I understand the interest. Connor Downey, 17 touches, again, a bit like Powell. Is that good enough? Was he solid? He seems to be in the mix. Jacob Kazitsky, 6 goals. Holy shit, who would have thought? I could have walked past him at Foodworks. I wouldn't have even known who he was. But look, he clearly is going to play when you do that sort of performance. He's a key type, but so, he's not going to kick a bag of 6 every week, but he might be good enough. He might just be able to be a consistent guy we can rely on for job security, but we'll have to wait and see. Tyler Brockman, 10 touches. Those who saw the game will be a better judge than I as to how he went. And Jarman Impey, just had the 6 touches from 43% time on ground. That's got to be a bad sign, surely. Even the time he played, he didn't really find a stack of the pill. Just from a pure stats read, I'd be putting a line through him. So that would have been interesting for some people. Geelong and Essendon, Oh, I can't begin to tell you how pissed off I am about Jordan Clark tearing the game up. And Langers will vouch for this. I could have told you a month ago that this guy's a star. And now every prick's going to jump on him. He was at 10% ownership. Last I looked, it was 24. It's the sort of stuff that just pisses Shorty off, that sort of shit. You've got a nice, unique guy. You're confident in him. You know what he can do. Because I know what he can do. I've watched him as a Geelong man. You watch him a bit closer. And he just kept racking it up. And I'm just thinking, Jordan, just slow down, brother. Slow down. Take it easy. Put a lid on it. But no, you had to be one of the absolute headline acts of the weekend, didn't you? So 29 touches, fantasy points coming out his ass, and all of a sudden everybody's like, oh, Jordan Clark, oh yeah, cool, I'll slot him in there. Meanwhile, Shorty's like, oh, I've had him for 3 months, bro. But anyway, that was good holiday otherwise. That's about all I had for the Cats. Stewart was good, Danger was good. But you probably already knew that, that's basically what we needed to see. The Bombers, there was a bit to talk about. If you're a Jai Caldwell fan, you probably would have liked what you saw. 24 touches, 3 clearances, 11 contested. So clearly he's a bloke they're going to run through the midfield, which we probably knew, but will he be able to do it for the whole year? What sort of average can he produce? We'll have to wait and see. But without watching the game closely, the numbers read pretty well. So he certainly gave people something to think about. Dyson Heppel, 21 touches, new roll-off halfback. Seems like he's going to be just a bit like Zeeble, a solid sort of contributor, except the difference between them is he's a bit pricier and he's just a mid. So he's not for me, just with that body concern. And there's probably around that price range. I'd rather take a risk on a guy like Tom Green, and there's probably a couple others. But so Heppel, not for me, but I understand the interest. And a few young blokes, Nick Cox and Harry Jones, had 9 touches each. But importantly, they played a fair bit of the game. So it suggests that the Bombers do like what they're producing, and they probably see them as part of their best 22. But equally, they're probably not going to be amazing scorers, just judging off, the sort of role they're going to play. And they're just young guys. But, they may well surprise. And Alec Waterman, just the 25% time on ground, which isn't ideal after he kicked the bag of 4. 102k in our forward lines would be nice, nice little cheap option, but don't know. When you see him just play a quarter of the game, it sort of makes you go, maybe he's not going to be best 22, but we'll wait till next week to see what the teams do on that front. The Giants and Sydney, there was a bit going on in this game. I feel like every game, had a headlined act. You had Zach Williams, you had Jaden Short and DeGoey, you had Tom Phillips, you had Jordan Clark, and this one was Taranto for sure. So, he had 31 touches. I've been off him. I just feel like at his price, I don't think he's like top end mid price. And I'm not sure he can be a premium. So, it's a tough one. Like, it's all in the margins. What do I think he's going to average? Probably like 104. Is that good enough for you? Yeah, probably. I'd like to see 105 plus. Is that just splitting hairs? Of course he's going to average 100. Oh, it's a tough one. It just depends what you like. Do you want to have a guy like that who might be a premium, or do you want to just pay an extra 60, 70, 80k and then probably get a guy who is a premium? I don't know. Make up your own mind, but he couldn't have been more impressive. He's clearly going to play high midfield minutes. He's a high draft pick. My big knock on him has been his ball use. So I wish I had checked what he did go at, to be honest. But yeah, just check that. How many clangers? What was his disposal efficiency? Because he has gone at about 59% for a big portion of his career, which isn't great. And I did see games last year where he got a lot of the ball, but it didn't always translate to a high Supercoach score. So that's my only knock on him. And look, he's clearly a guy that they want in the midfield. So that's the biggest thing. Tom Green as well was super good. 22 touches, one of the Giants' best. And he just looks the goods. They clearly, like Taranto, they're almost their 2 big bulls in there now. And I think we're going to see big things from these guys, not just this year, but in years to come. Tanner Bruin, whatever you want to pronounce that as, 11 touches. Again, I'm not sure if he did enough, but he's a guy that, is highly touted and could be a rookie option. Kieran Briggs, all of a sudden, where was Flynn? Like we're all thinking, oh, Bruce has gone down. Sweet, we've got a playing R3. All of a sudden, this bloke gets named and Flynn's just off having Subway. Like, what's going on? Defender forward, 123k. I don't know, he didn't do stacks, did he? But it's just really interesting. I hadn't really thought that he was in line for that sort of performance, but I thought it was going to be Flynn, but there you go. So we'll have to monitor that. And over at Sydney, Braden Campbell looks the goods, 18 touches, and the writing's been on the wall for that one for a little while. Highly touted, of course, and the Swans have been raving about him. So I think he's a must-have rookie. Probably of all the rookies, I think he's the biggest must-have, in my opinion. Callum Mills just had 17 touches, and I wouldn't mind just seeing bits of that game just to get a feel for what he did do, because statistically it wasn't stacks, but I still am a massive fan. Errol Goulden, apparently he looked good, 14 touches, quite a tough hombre, so I think he might be a guy that gets a round one berth. And Isaac Heaney just played a bit forward again, and I don't know, when's it going to happen for Isaac? What he does is good, but he just always doesn't have the quantity because he never is full midfield. Lance Franklin might be back for round one. How does that affect him? So I think we just stay away for the moment, but I mean, he's going to be a star. I stand by that, but just I can't wait for the day when we can pick Heaney with confidence, but we'll see. Adelaide and Port Adelaide, Rory Laird just does what he does, really good. And then a few youngsters. James Rowe, 15 touches, looked like he put a good case forward. Sam Berry, not so much, struggled to get into it, 42% time on ground. For the fellow who asked me on the live session, how's Berry looking? And I responded talking about Jared and Tom at the Lions. I think Sam might be struggling for a berth in the Crows round one side, but you never know. They might have just been managing his time and he might have done some good things, but I didn't see it. So at least on paper, seems like he might just be on the fringe, but we'll wait and see. Riley Thilthorpe, similar can be said, 39% time on ground, struggled to get into it. Over at Port, I think Zach Butters was a guy that a lot of people are just unsure about, and for me, it's a steer clear. 24 touches, really impressive, but no clearances, just 6 contested possessions. And look, for me, it just concerns me a touch with how many mids are at Port Adelaide. And just, I don't know if he can win his own ball. And that concerns me for a guy at that price. Honestly, if you're asking me Bolton or Butters, I'm probably going Bolton. So there you go. Probably a more unique answer there. But Butters is a star. I just would like a bit more stability in his role. And I don't know. He's clearly a very talented player, but I don't have the confidence in him just yet to be a consistent week in, week out scorer. So I'm probably steering clear. Willem Drew, I mentioned him in the players to keep on your radar. This kid can play. We're not going to pick him, but he can seriously play. Miles Bergman, 17 touches, played a lot of the game, and he was number 14 pick in the 2019 National Draft. I hadn't really looked at him, but I've just whacked him onto my bench. He's a forward option, 123k, and the talk is he's quite an athletic half-back type. Now, I don't know, sounds tasty to me, so I wouldn't mind having a look at him and see if he gets a round one nod. Connor Rosie, he tore the Crows apart, looked silky smooth at times, 16 touches, the usual sort of class that he brings to the game, but all of a sudden it's like, cool, nice game, mate, but we're going to chuck you in for surgery. Okay, so put a line through that. Bizarre. I don't know what's going on with that, but very unique set of circumstances. Lockie Jones, just 6 touches, 42% time on ground. Did he do enough? I don't know. He's been the rage. A lot of teams saying get him in, but I don't know. I'm not sure if he did enough. And Orazio Fantasia, he was dynamite. Fantastic. He's a trap. For me. Don't go near him, for goodness sake. He's a highlights reel. He'll probably have a game where he scores 130, 140, but he'll throw in some 50s and 60s. I think he could be more bad than good. Plus his body is a concern. So I've seen the ownership sort of go up, and I bet it goes up a bit off the back of his performance on the weekend, but it's a big no from me. In terms of Freo and West Coast, there wasn't too much. Really for West Coast, Liam Duggan, 22 touches. He seemed to play the role that people would like. Again, I don't know if he was amazing or not, but the numbers suggest he was reasonable to give you something to think about. Alex Witherden, 16 touches. I'll probably be steering clear. He hasn't done enough to say, you got to pick me, and he's awkwardly priced. And look, Freo, Nat Fyfe was amazing. This is the thing. 27 touches, 10 clearances. If he's played in midfield, he's a beast, and he's nicely priced. But the fact is, we just keep hearing the talk about how they want to play him forward, and we love the look of our side when he's forward, and now Walters has gone down, and Lobb has gone down. Does that mean there's more of a need for him to play forward? And those absent, I'm not sure how bad those injuries are, but, they leave pretty big holes in the Dockers side. So there could be opportunity off the back of that. But I don't know. Fyfe is a star. We know that. And we saw that when he's in the guts. I just get concerned about when he does play high portions of the game forward. And we saw it last year. And sometimes it was good. Sometimes he went cold. I remember a game he had like 15 touches in the first half. Third quarter, he played forward and he had 1 touch. So it's not always a guy like that just goes forward and kicks goals. It's not always like that. But Hayden Young, 23 touches, that's good enough for me. I think he's a lock. I think he's going to roll in real nicely. I know Luke Ryan, I don't think he played, I'm pretty sure, but I wouldn't be too concerned. I think he's going to take a lot of kick-ins. I think he's going to be one of their main ball users out of the back line. So I reckon that's great. And Josh Treacy, however you want to say that, 7 touches. He's our guy on probably R3, just nice, cheap, dual position. Don't know if he did enough. We might pick him anyway if there's no other options, but he's in the mix. Don't know if he did enough, but we'll wait and see. He may be one who benefits without Lobb in the side if that's the case. But I'm going to wind it up there because I'm going to go watch the Dogs in Melbourne. It's probably already started, but pretty interested to see, particularly James Jordan, actually. I'm really thinking he could be a good rookie. So, looking forward to seeing that. But I'll piece this together later tonight, and I'll get it up tonight. But by the time I finish watching Gold Coast and Brisbane, this one might pop up at past 10 o'clock. But nonetheless, we'll have it up tonight, and I'll talk to you guys pretty soon. Cheers. Gee, a lot can happen in a night of football. I'm absolutely shattered with Cameron Rayner. I'll get to that game in a little bit, in a moment, a bit more. But shattering stuff. I know he's not huge ownership, but most of you guys would know that I had Rayner in my side, and not just from a Supercoach perspective, but just to see him go down after such hard work on the track and finally getting his opportunity and just seeing how dejected he was. That was tough. But we'll finish off this preview, and hopefully I have this uploaded before midnight. But hey, if you're a night owl, the hell was that? That was weird. If you're a night owl, you'll probably get to see this one. If not, first thing in the morning and throughout Tuesday. So the Dogs and Melbourne, the Doggies just dominated. Unbelievable midfield effort. McRae, outstanding. Bontempelli, some of those goals just insane. Dunkley, bobbed up. Certainly had an impressive game, 11 tackles. Gives us something to think about. And look, my thoughts. I'm not going near Doggies midfielders. That's a game without Treloar as well. It's just there's a lot going on in there. Personally, I'm steering clear. But hey, if you like some of those guys, they certainly played well. And Caleb Daniel, just impressive unit, isn't he? Barely misses a target, finds the ball at will. You can bank on him all day. Steph Martin, shared the ruck with Tim English. And look, he seemed to play okay. He's not my cup of tea. I certainly prefer Sam Draper, but, I think those who do like him, he probably did enough. I just don't really like him as an option. And Anthony Scott, youngster, looking to break in the side. I reckon he'll find it tough, but he found a little bit of the ball. As for the Ds, Petrarca, he's just cruising. I wouldn't get too concerned. I'm personally not a massive fan of picking him this year to start with, but look, if you are, I wouldn't be going crazy over a quieter game. He looked like he just sort of cruised through. James Harms, really impressed, I thought. 18 touches, doesn't set the world on fire, but I like the new role change, and I think he could be in for a year that, offers great value for that price. James Jordan, certainly was impressive. I reckon he's in line for a round 1 spot. Jake Bowie, Cade Chandler, they'll sort of be trying to find a spot as well. Didn't light the world on fire, but Max Gawn and the way they were playing him, really interesting. Just without Ben Brown, without Sam Wiedemann, I just wonder, if playing Gawn and Jackson is going to be a thing that they do early, and whether Gawn plays slightly more forward in the absence of these key tools. You know, he still played a great game. I'm not saying panic, but just keep it in mind. I just wonder if with these injuries that these have, maybe he'll just start slightly slower. But that's just a thought. I'm just putting it out there. Most of you will still go the Gawn and Grundy combo. Fair enough. Brisbane and Gold Coast, as I said, Rayner, absolutely shattering. He's only in a couple of percent aside, so it's really not that relevant. But for me, I've really thrown my side around now, so I'll have an update on that. But really disappointing, like I said off the top. Shattering news. And obviously, that is something that's going off. That's weird. That is weird. Something's beeping, but yeah. Anyway. It might give Zach Bailey a bit more of an opportunity. Again, he's pretty unique, but I've heard a few people voice a little bit of interest. Lachie Neale, at first, I thought he looked a little bit scratchy, and I was starting to think, gee, is he going to be a bit rusty after, an average sort of pre-season? But, then he just racked it up in the third term, just doing what Lachie does. Joe Danaher, it wasn't a night for key forwards, no doubt about that. It was greasy, tough conditions. He still managed to find a bit of the ball, and I think kick 3. Attended quite a lot of ruck or centre bounce attendances, rucking, so that was a bit of a positive. Harry Sharp certainly did himself a number of favours, and he came on, and I think there could be a spot for him. He certainly did everything he could. Eli Smith, he wasn't in the side, but with Rayner obviously now missing, he might come into calculations, and hey, I think he or Sharp, could be in line for a round 1 debut. As could Tom Fullerton, looks really good, former basketballer, kicked a few goals, and just looks like a nice agile type. Dan McStay, obviously not playing, could get a chance. Wasn't stacked too much over at Gold Coast. Will Brodie, highly talented guy back in the day, might be able to finally produce that. He had like 25 touches. Awkwardly priced. I wouldn't be endorsing him, but hey, some people might, and I think he could go okay if he can continue to find a bit of the ball and a bit of midfield time. And Matt Rowell, he didn't go amazing. Stack of contested ball work. Again, I'm saying don't go with him. I think it's too risky. Hasn't had a fantastic preseason. He's so young. So much pressure on his shoulders. But a hell of a lot of you guys are. Let me know if you've sort of been scared off a touch after the weekend. But look, I personally think he could let us down. But I do love watching him play, there's no doubt about it. So that's a bit of a wrap. It's like 11:15, so I'm going to smash this one, piece it together, and like I said, hopefully have it up before midnight. And then, practice game's done. We are getting stuck into plenty of previews and discussion and team updates. There's a lot going on, so it'll be a big week of Supercoach content and leading up to, 10 days away now. So it's an exciting time. My voice is struggling. I'm a little weary, so I'm going to knock this up, chuck some TV on, and call it a night. So thanks for tuning in. I'll catch you guys soon. Cheers.